The galaxy had seen countless wars, but nothing could have prepared it for what was coming. For millennia, the Zark Dominion ruled with an iron fist, their fleets a shadow of death across the stars. They destroyed worlds, erased entire species from history, and crushed any whisper of rebellion. Every race in the known galaxy lived in constant fear. Every race, that is, except for one, humans. Most of the galaxy didn't even know they existed. Their home system was a distant whisper, far from the established trade routes, hidden behind a maze of unstable wormholes. The Dominion had mapped thousands of stars, yet they never found Earth. And so, humanity lived in quiet isolation, growing stronger, smarter, and more united, while the rest of the galaxy suffered in silence. That all changed on the day the Dominion's infamous Skybreaker fleet descended upon the small mining colony of Vern. Ix. The colony was under the protection of the Alliance of Free Species, a fragile coalition, barely surviving the Dominion's constant pressure. Their ships were relics, their weapons outdated, and their courage was fading with every lost battle. When the Dominion fleet arrived, the defenders lasted only minutes. Their desperate calls for help echoed into the void, unanswered, until a single, unknown signal pierced through the chaos. It was a message from a species the Alliance had never heard of. A short transmission, calm and impossibly confident. "This is Terran Defense Command. Hold your ground. Reinforcements inbound." No one believed it. Reinforcements? From where? Hope was a luxury the Alliance had lost long ago. Their ships were burning, their shields were collapsing, and the screams of their people filled the comms. Then, space itself seemed to tear open. A single ship emerged from a fracture of brilliant blue light. It wasn't large, not a hulking battleship bristling with armor. It was sleek, triangular, and its engines burned with an intense white-blue fire. Painted on its hull were two names: TDS Vanguard, Humanity First Fleet. The Dominion commander on the bridge of his flagship laughed. One ship? Against 20 of his best. A pathetic, meaningless gesture. But the Vanguard didn't send threats. It didn't broadcast warnings or demand surrender. It simply transmitted two words: weapons free. In that moment, the galaxy learned what humanity had been building in their long silence. The ship moved with impossible speed, faster than anything the Dominion had ever recorded. It split into 6 shimmering copies, some kind of advanced projection technology, and the Dominion's weapons fired wildly, hitting nothing but empty space. Then, the Vanguard's cannons charged. Beams of white-hot plasma lanced through the darkness, cutting enemy ships into pieces with surgical precision. 1 minute, 3 Dominion cruisers were gutted and destroyed. 2 minutes, 5 more were disabled, their systems fried. 4 minutes, the entire Skybreaker fleet was a graveyard of burning metal. The Alliance soldiers could only watch, their eyes wide with disbelief. Who were these humans? How could a single vessel accomplish what their entire fleets had failed to do for generations? Commander Rail of the Alliance stared at his tactical display, whispering, This changes everything." As the final Dominion cruiser exploded in a silent flash, the Vanguard turned its attention to the burning colony below. A swarm of drones emerged, extinguishing fires, repairing vital machinery, and rescuing civilians with a calm efficiency that suggested this was routine for them. The wounded Dominion commander, his ship crippled and his pride shattered, managed to open a channel. "You humans," he hissed through the static. "You think one ship means victory? The Dominion is endless. We will find your world and crush it." The human captain's voice finally came through, as cold and steady as deep space. "We're not here to survive. We're here to end this war." And then the channel went dead. The surviving Alliance ships gathered around the Vanguard, their crews still stunned into silence. Before vanishing as quickly as it arrived, the human captain transmitted one final message to them: "Prepare your fleets. Humanity is entering the battlefield." Those words spread like wildfire across the galaxy. On enslaved worlds, they were whispered with a newfound hope. In Dominion war rooms, they were repeated with a chilling fear. Because humans were different. They fought with strategy, with passion, with stubborn hearts and terrifyingly advanced machines. They did not kneel. They did not break. And once they committed to a war, they fought until only one side was left standing. In the official Dominion War archives, the events of Vuran X were recorded with a new designation, a phrase that would soon echo through every star system. When humans entered the battle, the galaxy trembled. The vanguard was gone, leaving behind 1,000 questions. No one knew where it went, how many more ships humanity had, or what their next move would be. But one thing was certain. A storm was rising, a storm called humanity, and the Dominion had no idea what they had just awakened. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales from the far reaches of space. The destruction of the Skybreaker fleet was a shockwave that rippled across the galaxy. On worlds that had known nothing but Dominion rule for centuries, new and dangerous words were whispered. The humans are back. A single Terran ship obliterated an entire battle group. Maybe we have a chance. While these rumors of hope shook the farthest corners of the galaxy, Earth itself remained silent. Far beyond the known star charts, hidden behind a veil of unstable wormholes, the Terran core system was preparing for a war no one else could see coming. From a distance, Earth looked as peaceful as ever its deep blue oceans, swirling white clouds and vast green continents untouched. But just above that serene atmosphere, in low, high, and deep orbit, hundreds of colossal structures were stirring from their long slumber. This was the Silent Armada. For generations, humanity had built its new navy in absolute secrecy. They made no alliances. They didn't appear on any trade networks. They were ghosts, forging weapons for a threat that only they seemed to truly comprehend. Inside the command station of Orbital Fortress Helios, Captain Aaron Vale stood before a giant shimmering hologram of the galaxy. His eyes were sharp and calm, honed by decades of silent, tireless preparation. "Vanguard reports mission success," came the voice of Officer Lena, her tone steady but laced with excitement. "Dominion ships are destroyed. The civilians on Vuran 9 have been rescued." Aaron gave a single, curt nod. And the Dominion's response? Lena's fingers flew across her console. A new, menacing red cluster of lights flared to life on the hologram. "The Dominion is moving a punishment fleet. 3 dreadnoughts, 20 cruisers. They're heading for the border systems." Aaron's jaw tightened. "So it begins." He turned to face the line of Terran commanders behind him. These were men and women whose eyes reflected countless war game simulations and grim projections. They weren't eager for this fight, but they were ready. "Prepare Fleet Group 2, Aaron ordered, his voice echoing with authority. It's time the galaxy sees that the Vanguard was not alone. Meanwhile, deep in Dominion space, Grand Marshal Croth sat upon his throne of black steel, his claws tapping an angry rhythm. The defeat at Vuran X was more than a loss. It was an insult. The Dominion Empire had ruled unchallenged for generations, crushing rebels, pirates, and any whisper of resistance. But these humans, they were different. He re-watched the battle footage for the 100th time. A single Terran ship, moving like a phantom. Weapons he'd never seen before. Maneuvers no Dominion pilot could possibly replicate. "Find their homeworld," Croth growled, his voice a low rumble of fury. "Burn it to ashes. Make an example of them." His scientists bowed, their fear palpable. "We are trying, Grand Marshal, but their drive technology is unknown. Their hyperspace jumps don't follow any known physics." Croth's eyes narrowed into slits. "Then learn, or you will be replaced." A chilling silence fell over the throne room. Back on Earth, inside the grand military hangar of the Artemis shipyard, thousands of engineers swarmed a massive hull. The ship was immense, shaped like a titan rising from the shadows. The name emblazoned on its side read, TDS, Colossus, humanity's first supercarrier. It was designed to carry 40 fighter wings, 10 drop battalions, and enough firepower to shatter a moon. General Mira Halstead walked along a catwalk overlooking the vessel, a data tablet in her hand displaying terrifying threat projections. If the Dominion found Earth, humanity would face the largest army in the galaxy. There was no room for error. Suddenly, an alert blared. A red pulse flashed across every screen in the system. Officer Lena's voice echoed through the fortress network. Unknown warp signatures detected. Dominion scouts are approaching the outer wormhole ring. And just like that, the moment humanity had feared for so long had finally arrived. The Dominion had found them. Captain Aaron Vale strode onto the command deck. "How many scouts?" "5, sir." "Are they armed?" "Light weapons only. But if even one escapes, they'll bring the entire Dominion fleet down on us." Aaron didn't hesitate. "Launch the Silent Armada." For years, the ships hidden in deep orbit had slept, cloaked in stealth fields. Now power surged through their veins. Reactors hummed to life, engines blazed with blue fire. Dozens, then hundreds of Terran ships emerged from the darkness like awakened beasts. Sleek stealth destroyers, formidable Ark-class cruisers, 2 massive battle carriers, and rising from the Artemis shipyard, the Colossus itself. The sky above Earth turned to silver, a forest of metal and fire. The Dominion scouts burst through the wormhole and froze. They expected empty space. Instead, they were met with an armada larger than anything the galaxy had witnessed in centuries. The lead Dominion pilot could only whisper, "This cannot be real?" Before he could finish his thought, the Terran fleet surrounded them in a flawless, inescapable formation. Aaron's voice boomed across all channels. "Dominion scouts, you have entered sovereign Terran space. Surrender or be erased." The scouts panicked. They tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. The Terran ships moved faster, smarter, sharper. In seconds, all 5 scout ships were vaporized. But it was too late. In its final moments, one scout had managed to transmit a single encrypted burst of data. And somewhere in the cold darkness of space, Grand Marshal Croth received it. A hidden system. A human armada. A new enemy. His lips twisted into a cruel, triumphant smile. So this is where they hide. The silent war was over. War was now certain. And the galaxy was about to learn what it truly meant when humanity entered the battlefield. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter. The Dominion punishment fleet moved like a black wave across the cold void of space. 3 colossal dreadnoughts, each the size of a small city, spearheaded the formation. Trailing behind them were cruisers, carriers, and countless swarms of fighter craft, a tide of pure destruction. Anyone who laid eyes on this fleet knew one undeniable truth. The Dominion was coming to threaten. They were coming to erase, but Earth was no longer a hidden backwater world. And humanity was no longer silent. Far away, in the supposed safety of the neutral zone, Ambassador Rail of the Alliance of Free Species stared at his holoscreen in utter disbelief. The news was staggering. A Dominion scout fleet, utterly destroyed. A previously unknown Terran armada suddenly revealed. And at its heart, a supercarrier larger than anything the Alliance had ever dreamed of building. Humans. Rail whispered to himself, the name-tasting alien on his tongue. What had they been preparing for? The council chamber around him buzzed with a mixture of fear and awe. Some saw hope. Others, a new terror. They annihilated the Skybreaker fleet. One delegate exclaimed, "One of their ships defeated 20 of ours." Another added, his voice trembling. "If the Dominion finds them, they'll burn human space to ashes." Rail raised a hand, calling for silence. "We need to make contact. If the humans fight the Dominion alone, they will fall. And when they do, the Dominion will come for all of us next." From a shadowy corner, a quiet voice posed the critical question. "Does humanity even want all eyes?" Rail didn't have an answer, but he was determined to find out. Meanwhile, inside Terran High Command, General Mira Halstead analyzed the data recovered from the Dominion scout ships. Even through the heavy encryption, she saw enough. Coordinates, fleet numbers, an estimated time of arrival. "They know we exist," she said, her voice grim but steady. "And they're coming in force." Engineers, strategists, and commanders gathered around her, their faces a mix of anxiety and grim determination. Every single one of them understood the stakes. Captain Arin Vale, a rising star in the fleet, stepped forward. "We must secure the outer wormhole first. If the Dominion establishes a stable gateway, they'll flood our space with ships." Mira nodded. "Agreed, but we need something more." She tapped a console, and a glowing symbol illuminated the Room 2 stylized wings wrapped around a central star. The emblem of Project Aurora. Aaron's eyes widened in shock. "You want to use that asterisk already?" "We don't have a choice," Myra replied, her gaze firm. "If the Dominion strikes now, we need a weapon that can shake them to their very core." A ripple of murmurs spread through the room. Project Aurora had been a whispered rumor for years, a ghost in the military machine. No one outside the highest ranks knew its true purpose, only that it was designed to change everything. Deep within the Dominion's flagship, Grand Marshal Croth watched the final data stream from his lost scouts. "They have a fleet," his advisor reported nervously. "A large one. And their weapons? Their technology is unlike anything we've encountered." Croth leaned forward on his throne, a predator studying its prey. "Do not fear what you do not understand," he hissed. "Fear what you cannot destroy." He gestured at the hologram of the Terran fleet. "This is humanity's mistake. They should have stayed hidden." With a flick of his wrist, the entire Dominion fleet altered its course, accelerating toward the wormhole that led directly to Terran space. The galaxy held its breath. On the frozen outer moon of Titanus, soldiers of the Terran drop corps stood in perfect formation. Their armor was brand new sleek silver plates with glowing power conduits, each suit powered by its own microreactor. They carried rifles that could melt starship plating and wore boots that could anchor them to a hull in zero gravity. Sergeant Colver stood before his squad, his voice amplified by his helmet. "Listen up, the Dominion is coming. They think we're weak. They think we're scared. Let's prove them wrong." A unified roar echoed across the launch bay. Above them, the hangar doors of the supercarrier Colossus slid open, releasing swarms of fighters and drones into the darkness of space. Humanity was done hiding. As the wormhole pulsed and shimmered, dangerously unstable as it prepared for the Dominion's arrival, Terran High Command made its move. They sent a message. Not to their own colonies, and not to the Dominion. They sent it to the entire galaxy. Every colony, every station, every warship, every neutral planet received it. The face of a calm woman in a crisp white uniform appeared on screens across known space. General Mira Halstead. Her voice was a beacon of steady strength. "This is Terran High Command. For too long, the Dominion has acted as tyrants. We will no longer remain silent. We will no longer stand aside. Humanity is entering the war." Across the galaxy, the reactions were immediate. Resistance fighters wept with relief. Dominion commanders spat in anger. Alliance soldiers stared in stunned silence. Myra's message continued, a promise and a warning in one. "To all species suffering under the Dominion, hold your ground. Help is coming." The broadcast ended, but not before the glowing symbol of Project Aurora burned itself onto the screen. Most of the galaxy didn't know what it meant. But the Dominion did. Grand Marshal Croft slammed his fist onto his throne. They dare challenge us? Then let the humans tremble. But it wasn't the humans who were about to tremble. It was the stars themselves. Because something ancient, something powerful, and something that had been hidden for millennia was about to awaken. And humanity had just announced its arrival to everyone. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for the next chapter of this epic story. The wormhole at the edge of Terran space pulsed, a wounded beast twisting from blue to red. Gravity waves rippled outward, shaking every sensor in the system. Inside orbital Fortress Helios, engineers stared as their readings spiked off the charts. Officer Lena whispered, "It's starting. A Dominion fleet is forcing it open." Sirens blared across the fortress. Ships scrambled into formation. Ground stations locked their shields. Every Terran soldier knew this was the moment they had been preparing for. On the command deck of the battle carrier Resolute, Captain Aaron Vale watched the shimmering wormhole swell, like a great eye opening in the void. He exhaled slowly. Steady. Brace for visual. The wormhole flashed white, and then they saw it. One by one, dark silhouettes emerged. Sharp, angular, and armored in black metal that drank the light. The first dreadnought. Then a second and a third. Behind them, waves of cruisers and carrier ships. Thousands of fighters poured out like a swarm of mechanical insects. It was the largest Dominion fleet ever recorded in a border assault. Even veteran Terran officers fell silent. From Fortress Helios, General Mira Halstead watched, her expression unchanging, but her eyes hardened. "That," she said grimly, "is their answer to our message." Aaron looked at his tactical display. Terran ships were fast, smart, and equipped with technology no one else had, but the Dominion brought overwhelming numbers. "This will not be a clean fight," he said. Mira's voice came back over the comms. "War never is." Without warning, the Dominion fired. 3 dreadnoughts unleashed beams of dark plasma, ripping through space like living fire. Cruisers followed with storms of missiles and heavy bolts. Terran shields flashed white as the first hits landed. Decks shook, consoles crackled, alarms blared. Shields at 70%. Multiple impacts, damaged teams deploying. But the Terrans didn't panic. They answered. Arc batteries fire. Drone wings launch. The front line unleashed a storm of precision shots. White-blue plasma sliced through enemy fighters. Quantum drones swarmed ahead, tearing apart bombers like metal piranhas. One Dominion cruiser exploded, then another, then a third, but more just kept coming. The battle became a chaotic dance of fire and metal. The Dominion dreadnought, the Vornith, charged its main cannon. This ancient weapon, built from stolen tech, could tear a ship in half. Aaron shouted, "All ships, evasive pattern Delta." But the Vornith wasn't aiming at a ship. It aimed at the wormhole gate, the only stable path into Terran space. If it was destroyed, humanity would be trapped. No reinforcements, no retreat. Only extinction. General Myra reacted instantly. "Signal Colossus. Supercarrier online. Tell them to intercept." The Colossus roared forward, engines burning bright. A titan among stars, its main cannons glowed white-hot and fired. A beam split the void, slamming into the Vornith's cannon array and shattering the charging sequence. The dreadnought staggered. "Direct hit," Aaron shouted. But the victory was brief. A second dreadnought took aim, and this time the Terran fleet was out of position. Inside Fortress Helios, Mira Halstead stood before a sealed chamber. The doors opened with a deep hum. Inside floated a crystalline sphere, glowing with a soft, golden light. Project Aurora, the most secret Terran weapon. Not a ship, not a bomb, not an AI. It was a reactor, an engine, a power source humanity had not created, but discovered. found deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a ruined alien site only Earth possessed. Mira placed her hand on the console. Aurora Protocol. Unlock. Prepare pulse. Officer Lena hesitated. General, once we activate this, the whole galaxy will know. Mira simply nodded. Let them know. As the second Dominion dreadnought fired its doomsday beam, the sphere inside the fortress glowed brighter and brighter, until it released a golden shockwave across the entire system. Every Terran ship pulled power from the pulse. Shields surged to 10 times their strength. Weapons overloaded with pure white energy. Engines ignited like miniature suns. The Dominion beams struck the Terran fleet and dissipated like smoke. Their commanders froze. What did they just do? Human ships rearranged formation with impossible speed, leaving trails of golden light behind them. Aaron stared at his glowing displays. So this is Aurora. Mira's voice echoed across all Terran channels. Humanity has been underestimated for the last time. The counterattack began. The Colossus fired a full broadside, slicing a Dominion cruiser in half. Destroyers blinked across short-range jumps, appearing behind enemy formations. Drones formed bright spirals of plasma, melting fighters by the hundreds. And Captain Aaron Vale led the charge toward the remaining dreadnoughts. For the first time, the Dominion felt fear. The wormhole flashed again, now stable, reinforced by Aurora energy. Reinforcements were coming, but not for the Dominion. They were coming for Earth, for humanity, and for the galaxy that was about to rise with them. The battlefield blazed with gold and fire. Under the power of the Aurora pulse, Terran ships moved like living comets, fast, sharp, and utterly unstoppable. Dominion commanders, who once believed they ruled the stars, now felt something new, something alien to them. Fear. Captain Aaron Vale stood at the front viewport of the battlecruiser Resolute. The ship's hull glowed with raw Aurora energy, its engines burning like white fire against the blackness of space. His tactical display showed the impossible Dominion formations. Once a wall of steel and might were breaking apart. Cruisers scattered in panic, and entire fighter wings simply collapsed under the Terran assault. Keep pressure on the dreadnought line. Aaron ordered into the comms. The bridge crew was a symphony of controlled chaos. Roger that, Captain. Heavy cannons recharging. Our drone wings are returning for reload. Even with this incredible advantage, the Terrans knew a hard truth. Dreadnoughts don't fall easily. Each one carried armor thicker than a mountain, and weapons that could vaporize a ship in a single shot. Inside their hulls, thousands of soldiers stood ready to board and fight to the last breath, and the Dominion had 3 of them. Suddenly, the dreadnought Vornith, still smoking from an earlier hit by the Terran supercarrier Colossus, began to power its auxiliary cannons. Dark plasma, a sickly green energy, built inside its massive weapon vents. Officer Lena's warning cut through the noise. Enemy dreadnought locking on the Colossus. Aboard the giant supercarrier, alarms blared. Thousands of crew members scrambled into defensive positions as shield generators were pushed far past their safety limits. On the Colossus's bridge, Admiral Kessler clenched his jaw. Brace, the Vornith fired. A wave of dark plasma slammed into the Colossus, shaking the Titan from bow to stern. Shields crackled and armor plates glowed red-hot. Entire decks lost power, but the carrier held, barely. Shields are down to 40%. A damage control officer yelled. We cannot take another hit like that. Admiral, the dreadnought is already recharging. Aaron's heart pounded in his chest. If the Colossus falls, the entire line collapses. We need to take out the Vornith now. He turned to his helmsman, his voice low and firm. Prepare ramming vector. The bridge fell silent. A young officer whispered, Sir? Ramming? That's suicide. You'll kill all of us. Another cried out. Aaron shook his head. his eyes fixed on the enemy dreadnought. Not a full ram, a micro-jump. We'll jump directly above the Vornith, then hit their main cannon array from its blind spot. The crew's fear turned to understanding. It was incredibly dangerous, yes, but it wasn't a suicide mission. It was a gamble. "We're with you, Captain," the helmsman said, his voice steady. The others nodded in agreement. "Prepare for micro-jump," Arin ordered. "On my mark. 3 seconds." The Resolute's drives charged, shaking the ship as its engines tapped directly into the Aurora pulse. 2 seconds. 1. Execute. The ship vanished from existence. A split second later, it reappeared right above the dreadnought Vornith, only a dozen meters above its armored hull. The dreadnought's metal surface filled the entire viewport, a landscape of gunmetal gray. "Fire everything!" Arin shouted. Every cannon, every missile, every drone unleashed its fury. White plasma poured into the dreadnought's cannon array. Armor melted like wax. A chain reaction of explosions rippled down the Vornith's spine. Inside the Dominion flagship, alarms shrieked. The central commander hissed, "Impossible. Humans cannot." He never finished the sentence. The Vornith's main cannon detonated from the inside out, tearing the gargantuan dreadnought in half. A shock wave of flame and metal blasted outward as the Resolute dove away just in time, its shields flaring. Cheers erupted across the Terran cones. "One dreadnought down." "Nice shot, Resolute. They're not invincible after all." Arin steadied himself, his knuckles white. "Don't celebrate yet. We still have 2 left." On the Dominion command ship Gorath, Grand Marshal Croft watched the Vornith explode. His claws dug into the armrests of his throne. "That ship," he snarled, his voice a low growl. "Find that Terran ship and destroy it." His officers scrambled to obey. Fighter wings redirected, cannons aimed. But the humans weren't done surprising them. Inside Fortress Helios, a massive golden sphere orbiting humanity's capital, General Mira stood before a new console. "Aurora levels are stable," a technician reported. "Phase 2 is ready to activate." Mira gave a sharp nod. "Send the signal." A pulse of pure gold energy spread through space, reaching every Terran ship instantly. Their systems flickered, then upgraded. Energy weapons grew stronger. Shields hardened. Engines burned even brighter. And for the first time ever, Terran ships unlocked something new: short-range phase shifting. A technology older than humanity itself. A gift from the sphere. A weapon no one else had. Arin saw the new indicator flash on his display. Phase shift drive. Active. His smile was thin and deadly. Now the real fight starts. With Aurora Phase 2 active, the Terran fleet turned the battle on its head. Destroyers blinked in and out of existence, dodging Dominion fire with impossible grace. Cruisers dove straight through enemy formations, shredding shields from the inside. Drone wings surged like a golden storm. And the Colossus, its hull, already repairing itself with Aurora energy, launched its full fighter armada. The Dominion lines crumbled, but the 2 remaining dreadnoughts still held. And they were preparing something powerful, something ancient. Their hulls opened, revealing glowing blue structures that Terrans had never seen before. Arin's eyes widened. "General, what are they doing?" On his screen, Myra's face grew cold. "They're waking up their planet-killer weapons." If those weapons fired, Terran space would be erased from the star charts. The final clash was coming. Humanity would either rise from the ashes of this war, or be turned to ash themselves. The battlefield went strangely quiet. Not silent, there were still explosions, still plasma streaks, still drones tearing through fighters, but something deeper changed. A cold pressure spread through the system, a feeling every Terran captain and Dominion commander felt in their bones. Because the 2 remaining Dominion dreadnoughts had opened their hidden sections, massive blue energy rings unfolding like metal petals. These weren't ordinary weapons. These weren't ship killers. These were planet killers, designed to wipe out an entire world with a single shot. Officer Lena's voice cracked as she reported, "General, we are detecting catastrophic power levels." From the Terran Command Fortress, General Mira Halstead did not flinch. "They're targeting Earth. A single hit and everything, cities, oceans, forests, every living human would vanish." On the bridge of the starship Resolute, Captain Aaron Vale stared at his display. "We have minutes at best." He clenched his fists, his voice low but firm. "We stop them here, or humanity ends today." Inside the lead dreadnought, the Gorath, Grand Marshal Croth watched with growing excitement as the planet killer reactors charged. "Let them run," Croth hissed. "Let the humans fight. Let them bleed. Then we erase their home." His second officer bowed. "Grand Marshal, with respect, this might be too much power for." Croth silenced him with a glare. "The Dominion was built on breaking worlds. Today, we break their hope." Back in Fortress Helios, the golden light from the Aurora Sphere, the heart of Terran power, intensified. General Mira knew they had reached a point where caution no longer mattered. "Aurora Protocol Phase 3, she ordered. Technicians gasped. "General, if we do that—" "I know," she said, her voice steel. "But if we don't, Earth falls." She pressed her hand against the console, and the entire Terran system pulsed gold. Across the fleet, Terran ships drank in the energy, their lights brightening until their hulls glowed white-hot. Aaron felt the power surge through the Resolute. His ship suddenly ran as if someone had removed every limit, every safety, every restriction. "Engines at 200% capacity," his helmsman whispered in awe. "We've never seen numbers like this." Aaron nodded, his eyes locked on the enemy. "Then we use them." The battle turned desperate. The two Dominion dreadnoughts linked their planet-killer rings, and blue lightning arced between them. Power levels spiked enough to erase continents. "We must break that link," Aaron said. "If they complete the charge, nothing stops them." Terran ships dove into action. Destroyers blinked in and out, attacking weak points. Fighters swarmed the dreadnought's weapon ports. Drones overloaded themselves in kamikaze strikes. But the dreadnought shields, strengthened by the linked weapon, were impossible to crack. The Dominion commanders laughed across open comms. "Your fear is delicious, humans. You are brave. But foolish. This ends now?" Aaron gritted his teeth. There must be a weak point. Just then, Lena shouted from sensor control, "Captain, we're reading a fluctuation inside the weapon ring." Aaron looked sharply. "Inside?" "Yes. Something at the center is unstable." Myra's voice echoed across the fleet comm. "It's their energy core? They stole that technology from a dead species. They don't fully understand it." Aaron understood instantly. "So if we hit the unstable center, we blow up the entire weapon," Mira confirmed. "But," she added grimly, "anything inside that ring will be destroyed too." Aaron didn't hesitate for a second. "We'll go." The bridge fell silent. His crew stared at him. Aaron turned to his crewmen and women who had fought beside him since the beginning. "Earth is behind us," he said quietly. "Our families. Our future. Everything. If that weapon fires, there is no Earth left to protect." He pressed his palm to the console. "Prepare for final charge." The crew looked at each other, and a silent understanding passed between them. One by one, they nodded. "We're with you, Captain." All the way. The Resolute broke formation, its engines burning white gold as the Aurora energy pushed the ship beyond anything human-made. "Vector set. Shields max. All power to engines." The Resolute accelerated straight toward the weapon ring. Dominion commanders panicked. That Terran ship stop IT. Block them. Destroy them. But the Resolute phase shifted through their fire. Cannons missed. Missiles passed through harmlessly. The Terran ship raced straight toward the blue core. Inside the bridge, everything shook. Consoles sparked. Shields collapsed. Alarms screamed their final warnings. Distance, 500 meters. Core instability rising. Hull critical. Aaron whispered, "For Earth." Then something unexpected happened. A new light, a golden energy-pure aurora wrapped the ship. Inside Fortress Helios, the aurora sphere flared violently. Myra staggered back. A sphere, it's reacting to them. The Resolute was no longer breaking apart. It was transforming its hull, shimmering, strengthening. Aaron realized it too. It's protecting us. And then the Resolute entered the weapon ring straight toward the unstable core. Blue and gold collided. A shock wave of pure energy exploded outward, silent and absolute. The entire battlefield lit up like a newborn star. No one knew who survived. No one knew what remained. But they all knew one thing. The galaxy had just changed forever. The battlefield above Varellus burned like a second sun. Ships drifted in broken pieces, metal glowing red as fires spread across the void. Among that chaos, one thing still moved with purpose. The human fleet, battered but unbroken. Commander Aaron Howe stood on the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, watching the tactical map flicker with red enemy markers. Most of the Allied symbols were already gone, Varelian, Falakari, even the proud Chi-Kar vessels. Only humans remained in formation, and the enemy was coming again. The Zith Dominion's assault wave stretched across the stars like a dark tide. Thousands of ships, automated war drones, harvester frigates that never retreated. Their strategy was simple. Push forward until everything alive stopped breathing. Aaron took a long breath. They think we are finished. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Rourke, wiped blood from his cheek. We should be. We lost half the fleet in the last engagement. Half is still half, Aaron said calmly. Humans don't break at 50%. Around her, the crew straightened a little knot out of pride. But because they were remembering something important, humans had been the underdogs in almost every war they had ever fought. Survival was not new. Being underestimated was normal. Winning anyway was tradition. A quiet hum passed through the bridge, engines stabilizing, weapons cooling. The ship itself felt exhausted, like it needed a moment to breathe. But machines didn't breathe. Humans did. And they weren't done. In the distance, the Dominion fleet spread into attack formation. Their capital ships pulsed with cold blue energy, preparing for another full-scale bombardment. Rourke swallowed hard. Commander, they're charging their rift lances. If they fire, the Dawn won't survive. Aaron walked to the front window. The stars looked calm, too calm. Then we don't let them fire, she said. Signal the rest of the fleet. Within seconds, the human ships aligned themselves. Engines burning like comets, hulls cracked and scarred, but moving with determination. Broadcast ready. Aaron's voice rang out across the fleet. This is Commander Aaron Howley. You already know the situation. We're outnumbered, outgunned, out of time. The Dominion believes humans only win because of numbers, luck, or desperation. Today, we show them the truth. Humans win because we don't stop. She paused. Not when the enemy is bigger. Not when the odds are impossible. Not even when every ally has fallen. We stand because someone must. And today, it's us. The channel closed. Silence followed. Then one ship after another locked weapons, engines flaring bright. Humanity was ready. The Dominion command expected a retreat. That was the logical choice. No species had ever stood their ground against a full Zith wave, but logic had never been humanity's main guide. The Resolute Dawn surged forward, leading the charge. Every human ship followed, forming a spear of steel and fire. Target the Rift Lance carriers, Aaron ordered. Cannons roared. Missile bays opened. Railguns cracked like thunder. Human ships darted between enemy fire, weaving impossible lines through the chaos. One Zith carrier exploded, then a second. The third shifted to evasive maneuvers, something no Dominion vessel had done in centuries. "Commander!" Rourke shouted. "They're actually backing up." Karen allowed herself a faint smile. "Good. Let them." Inside the Dominion command ship, Overseer Zathrix watched the chaos unfold with mechanical calm. His species believed emotions were flaws, distractions. But something new flickered in Zathrix's cold thoughts. Confusion. Humans were supposed to fall. Their ships were supposed to scatter. Yet here they were, charging into a mathematically unwinnable battle, and somehow winning ground. "Overseer," a drone officer reported, "human losses are lower than predicted. Their attack patterns are irregular, illogical, unbreakable." Zathrix's voice hissed. "Increase firepower. Crush their lead ship." The Resolute Dawn shook violently as enemy salvos tore across the hull. Sparks exploded. Consoles shattered. The bridge lights flickered. "Shields at 15%, shouted the engineer. Rourke yelled over the alarms. "We can't take another hit like that." "Yes," Erin whispered, gripping her chair. "We can." She forced her voice steady. "Forward batteries full power. Aim for their command vessel." The crew hesitated. "That's suicide," Rourke said quietly. Erin looked at him. "So is running." He nodded. "No more running." Every gun on the Dawn fired at once. The beam cut through the dark like a sunbeam, slamming into the Dominion command ship's hull. For the first time in centuries, Zith shields flickered struggling. Then they cracked. The shockwave rippled across the formation. Zith ships broke ranks, momentarily disoriented. And in that tiny moment, humanity surged forward again. The broken hull of the Dominion command ship drifted in the silent void. Fires burned along its metal ribs, and small, silent explosions flashed like dying stars. Nearby, the human ship, the Resolute Dawn, hung battered and smoking. Its systems were failing, one by one. On its damaged bridge, Commander Aaron Hawley gripped a railing to stay upright. Every breath was a struggle, every light a flickering ghost. But she held her ground. She had one last mission. "Status?" she asked, her voice a rough whisper. Lieutenant Rourke, her second in command, wiped ash from his forehead. "The enemy fleet is in chaos, Commander. Their command ship is offline. They've lost all coordination." A faint smile touched Erin's lips. "Good," she said softly. "That means they can still feel fear. For 1,000 years, the Zith Dominion had ruled the galaxy through terror. Today, for the first time, the terror was theirs." Across countless star systems, hundreds of species watched the battle unfold. The Vorelians, once allies of the Dominion, now nearly extinct, stared at their screens in disbelief. The Thalakari priests, a race known for their ancient wisdom, stopped their morning chants. Even the neutral and ever-expanding Helith Empire paused, their wide, shifting eyes glued to the live feed. Everyone expected humanity to fall. The odds were impossible. History itself predicted their demise. But humans didn't follow math or history. They followed something much older, a forgotten instinct, defiance. And that spark was now spreading like wildfire, system by system. "What are they doing now?" asked a Thalakari elder, his voice trembling. A young technician shook his head, mesmerized. I think they're preparing another strike." "Another?" the elder whispered. "But they should be dead." The technician replied quietly, "Yes, they should be." Inside the Resolute Dawn, the ship was falling apart. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Half the crew lay injured. Every console was either cracked or burning. "Commander," the chief engineer yelled over the noise, "we cannot power the main cannons again." The reactors. They can handle it. Aaron cut him off. No, they can't. The engineer insisted, his voice cracking. If we push them any harder, we risk a full meltdown. Aaron turned to face him, her eyes steady and clear. We are still here because we fought when others would have quit. That can't stop now. The engineer swallowed hard, then nodded. Understood. Rourke stepped closer to Aaron. You know what a meltdown means, he said, his voice low. Yes, it'll kill us all. She met his gaze, unflinching. If the galaxy must learn something today, let it learn the price of pushing humanity too far. Rourke stared at her for a long moment, the chaos of the bridge fading away. Then a slow, determined nod. Then let's make it worth it. Aaron opened a channel public, unencrypted, for the entire galaxy to hear. Attention, Dominion commanders, she said, her voice impossibly calm. You came to our worlds to break us. You wanted planets on their knees. You wanted fear. She paused, letting the silence hang heavy in the void. But today, the galaxy watches you fall back from the one species you believed was weak. Across the stars, beings of every shape and size listened, captivated. Your reign ends now, Aaron continued, her voice hardening with resolve. Not because of our weapons, not because of our numbers, but because you forgot the one rule every conqueror must remember. A final chilling statement echoed through the cosmos. Humans don't surrender. The message ended, and the galaxy erupted. Commander, Rourke announced, over 100 Dominion ships are trying to regroup. They're pushing toward us. Aaron raised her chin, her silhouette framed by dying emergency lights. Then we hit them first. The engineer's voice was a whisper, a prayer. Charging main reactor. Starting meltdown protocol. A deep, bone-shaking rumble spread through the ship. Lights dimmed to almost nothing. The walls vibrated like the heart of a great beast waking from its final sleep. Rourke gripped his console. Target locked. Aaron Hawley spoke one last word. Fire. The dawn unleashed everything it had left, a pure, burning spear of white-hot energy. The enemy formation disintegrated, but it wasn't enough. The ship's reactor began to scream. Containment breach. The engineer yelled. Core collapsing. Aaron closed her eyes. We've done our part. But then, just as the end came, something impossible happened. Space tore open beside them. Not a portal. A fleet. Thousands of ships. Varelian survivors. Thalakari warriors. Independent civilian defense forces. Even smugglers who once feared the Dominion. All of them answering one message. All of them fighting because one small broken species showed them how. They came, Rourke whispered, stunned. They actually came. A Varelian captain's voice crackled through the comms. Humans of the Resolute Dawn, you are not alone. Stand down. We'll finish this. The newly united fleet surged forward, crushing the remaining Dominion forces in a storm of righteous fire. For the first time in a millennium, the Dominion retreated. Hours later, rescue crews boarded the Resolute Dawn. They found a ship barely holding together and a crew still alive. Commander Aaron Howell sat in her chair, exhausted, but a faint smile played on her lips. You did it, a Varelian medic said in awe. You saved us all. Aaron shook her head. No, humans started it. The galaxy finished it. Outside the cracked view screen, the stars shimmered peacefully. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget, and it would never again underestimate humanity.